Throughout world history, one disturbing pattern repeats again and again. Before every descent into brutality, before the rise of totalitarian regimes, before the outbreak of devastating wars, a wave of anti-cultism emerges. Often overlooked, this phenomenon has functioned as a preparation stage, a process of punitive cleansing and ideological conditioning. It is the quiet groundwork that precedes destruction. In this presentation, we will explore how anti-cult activity expanded in Germany between 1933 and 1945, helping shape the ideological climate that made the Third Reich, and ultimately, World War II possible. Dictatorships do not begin with armies or prisons. They begin with ideas, intangible thoughts that eventually harden into action. To understand the ideological soil in which Nazism grew, we must examine the thinkers who influenced Hitler. Among them were Adolf Josef Rantz's racial theories laid early foundations for Aryan mythology. Elements of Protestant and Catholic doctrine selectively misinterpreted and weaponized the extreme anti-Semitism of Martin Luther, whose writings Hitler openly admired. Even traces of esoteric teachings from figures such as George Gergiev and occult Tibetan orders. These disparate influences converged into a worldview that saw dissenting religious groups not simply as different, but as enemies, obstacles in the path toward world domination. Could Martin Luther have imagined that centuries after his death, Adolf Hitler would hold him up as a hero, that his own writings would help justify? In the 1500s, Luther's theological disputes fractured Christian unity. Yet buried within his religious writings was something far darker, a virulent anti-Semitism that would echo across history. He wrote, "First, their synagogues or schools should be set on fire, their houses razed, their prayer books taken, their rabbis forbidden to teach on pain of life and limb. We should prohibit their usury and take all their cash and jewelry." These are not fringe statements. They come from Luther's treatise on the Jews and their lies. Hitler read them. Hitler admired them. And Hitler cited Luther as one of Germany's greatest geniuses. In the early 20th century, long before the Nazis took power, Protestant pastors in Germany began adopting increasingly militant anti-cult positions. In 1921, the Evangelical Church founded the Apologetics Center for Worldview Questions, led by Karl Gunther Schweitzer. Its explicit purpose was to document dangerous religious minorities, monitor occult or spiritualist groups, defend what they called positive Christianity, promote the idea that alternative worldviews threaten the nation. The center was state. It built archives, produced propaganda, and created a climate where religious diversity was portrayed as a danger to society. This was the seedbed in which Nazi anti-cult ideology would later flourish. After Germany's defeat in World War I, a new political movement formed in Munich, the German Workers' Party, founded by Anton Drexler and Dietrich Eckart. Under Hitler's leadership, it soon transformed into the NSDAP, the Nazi Party. In Hitler's 1920 speech announcing the party's 25-point program, Point 24 laid out its religious stance: freedom for all religious denominations, provided they do not threaten the state. The party stands for Positive Christianity. Positive Christianity was a re-engineered version of the faith, stripped of the Old Testament, aligned with racial ideology, loyal to the state above God, intolerant of dissenting beliefs. Anti-cultism was embedded directly into the party's founding principles. In 1932, a major breakthrough for Nazi religious ideology occurred. A group called the German Christians won 1/3 of all seats in the Prussian church elections. Eru idi bairuto, bihie mureru. They sought to Nazify Christianity from within. Their beliefs included endorsing Hitler's racial ideology, declaring Christians of Jewish descent non-German, calling for the removal of the Jewish Old Testament, promoting the swastika cross as a new sacred symbol. By the mid-1930s, the movement had 600,000 members. The Catholic Church also played a complex role. A 1933 Concordat granted the church protection under the Nazi state, a protection that lasted until 1937, but even prior to that, as early as 1931, Catholic youth organizations were already adopting nationalist language, pledging loyalty to the German people and their homeland, using the rally cry, "Truly Hail," proclaiming for the kingdom of Christ in a new Germany. Religion was merging with nationalism. A nationalism was merging with totalitarianism. When the Nazis seized power in 1933, the apologetic center quickly aligned itself with the regime. Its new director, Wadata Canis, collaborated directly with the Gestapo. He supplied them with data on religious minorities. Data he had gathered through years of anti-cult surveillance. Meanwhile, theologian and sectologist Paul Sherlin became involved in the infamous Bern trial over the fraudulent protocols of the Elders of Zion. The Nazis followed the case eagerly, since the forged protocols were central to their anti-Semitic propaganda. This was the machinery of ideological control, the merging of church scholars, state police, and Nazi racial theory. In 1938, the anti-cult campaign reached its peak. With the help of German religious experts, the SS published the Handbook for Combating Sex. It listed the dangers posed by sex, including refusal to salute Hitler, refusal of military service, international connections, rejection of Nazi racial theory, refusal to participate in state labor organizations, faith, healing, and pacifism, stultifying the people. It categorized groups into Judeo-Christian sects, Masonic, occult, and spiritualist groups. Non-Christian sects. Local SS officers were instructed to obtain complete lists and initiate suppression. That same year, Reinhard Heydrich, future architect of the final solution, issued directives banning groups like the Theosophical Society and confiscating their assets. Anti-cultism had become state machinery. Among the lesser-known victims of Nazi persecution were the Bible students, today known as Jehovah's Witnesses, because they refused to salute Hitler, serve in the military, compromise their religious convictions. They were branded enemies of the state. An estimated 10,000 witnesses suffered under Nazi repression. 2,500 died in camps such as Dachau, Ravensbrück, Auschwitz, and Buchenwald. They were given a chance to sign a renunciation paper to go free. Very few did. Their courage stands today as one of the most powerful examples of spiritual resistance. Nazi Germany would not have become what it did without the groundwork laid by anti-cult organizations and the religious ideologues behind them. They provided the justification for censorship, the frameworks for surveillance, the lists of dangerous citizens, the language of fear needed to establish mono-ideology. Under this system, the Nazis exterminated 6 million Jews, 500,000 Romani, 500,000 homosexuals, 500,000 disabled people, millions of Russians and Ukrainians, tens of thousands religious dissenters. Yet historians have rarely acknowledged the role anti-cultism played in enabling these atrocities. Today it has taken shape as a more advanced form, more discreet, more powerful, to turn people against one another, breeding division, violence, interreligious hatred. There is a Fourth Reich hidden in the shadows that is now being exposed on an international scale. This channel will tell that story.